being in the field for an extended period of time, the mind and the body are both tired. But we must keep going. Preparedness does not stop there. Preparedness continues when we are at home and, exhausted. Today, we're, stepping back a little bit from the ordinary videos that I create. And we're talking a little bit about mindset and, being prepared and staying prepared, even outside of being in the field or, going on missions and stuff like that, or, all that fun, cool stuff. So not that this isn't fun and cool, but today we're talking about something a little unique, and we're talking about kind of decompressing after the field. And kind of what that looks like for me, mainly. I'm going to be talking about kind of what I do after I've been in the field and when I come home, and, what I do, and talk about what I do with my gear, and, what I do for myself, for my mind, for my body. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so one of the first things that I do that is probably pretty obvious is, I come home and I get all the grime off of me. And I also, get some good food in me. I replace my electrolytes, I hydrate, I do all of those like basic things, because it just it makes you feel 10 times better. It kind of rejuvenates your energy because you're like, oh, I feel so much better, So that's kind of the first thing I do, especially like the nutrition portion and rehydrating. That's extremely important, especially if you've been eating minimal in the field and doing a lot of physical strenuous activities out there. Your body needs to replenish those nutrients. And then obviously you're going to want to get that grime off of you because most of the time you're not showered in the field or anything, so you're just going to be gross. And you don't want to be crawling in your bed and stuff, being all gross. So those are kind of the main things that I do when I first get home, is I get myself right. Because that's extremely important, is making sure that you are ready to go mentally and physically, because you could have all of the best gear in the world, right? You could spend all this money, you could have everything, right? But if you can't operate mentally and physically, it's not going to do you any good, because ultimately you're the one that's using that equipment, and you're not going to be able to use that equipment, or at least not be able to use it effectively, if you can't operate mentally and physically. So really the first thing that I do when I get here is I make sure that I am good to go. Like I said, those three main things, get myself clean, eating something good and nutritious, and replacing my electrolytes and rehydrating. Those are kind of the first main three things that I do when I get home, before I touch anything else, because those are ultimately, the most important things to do when it comes to decompressing and resetting after the field. And what's kind of important to note is that if you're go, go, go all the time, and you never take any rest time or any time to just sit down and decompress after the field, your mission readiness is just going to slip and go out the window. And, that's what this channel and this brand is all about, is being mission ready and staying prepared. So it's important that we do decompress and we do give ourselves time to reset after the field, because that's what's ultimately gonna, ensure that we can stay mission ready and that we are prepared all the time. So with that being said, once I do, get myself good and my stomach's full and I'm hydrated and all that, the next thing I do is I go through my gear, if anything's wet, and I lay it all out, and I check for broken stuff, and I do all that. So that's what we're going to jump into next. All right, so now I've angled you guys towards the ground here, and that's because I want to show you guys kind of my process of taking all my stuff out here, laying it all out. Now, this is a ruck. You might be using something similar to this. It might look different, might look the exact same. But, with that, it doesn't really matter. So, when you go in the field, you're most likely going to be living out of some sort of large bag like this. This is, where I keep all my gear that I use to sustain myself So what I like to do is I like to, you know, basically just empty this entire thing, and if I have like stuff stuck to it, I like, you know, we'll toss it to the side for now. I'll throw it away. We're gonna open this bad boy up here, take everything out, essentially. That's gonna be the very first thing I do, is just get it all out. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, now that I have everything out here, this is basically just my rec system here by itself, minus the E-tool. And the next step that I do is I'm gonna, you know, anything that's wet, I'm going to lay out and let it start airing out, because you don't want to let it get, you know, mildewy and moldy and all that, because that's just, you know, no good. So I'm gonna do all of that real quick. You know, when you're doing this, you can just, you know, find an object or something that you want to, you know, spread yourself out or spread your stuff out on. That's going to allow it to air out. And obviously I wouldn't stick any of your stuff like on furniture, because you don't want to, you know, get your furniture or anything wet as well. So as you can see in this clip, this is like a large dog crate that I'm just essentially, you know, taking my stuff and laying it over. That way it can air out. And I'll probably just let all this stuff sit here for, you know, 24 hours, let it sit overnight. And that way I can make sure that it is fully dry and, you know, ready to go again. So, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna bore you guys with, you know, just clips of me spreading all my stuff out and doing all that. But one thing I do want to talk about is some of it, like certain equipment, you know, like here specifically with my sleeping mat, it's good to wipe it down and, you know, get some of the dirt and stuff off of it. So I'm just using some disinfecting wipes here and trying to get, you know, some of the dirt off to the best of my ability. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, but also you're going to want to let this air out as well when you're done wiping it down. Just because, you know, you want to keep your gear nice and clean and well maintained. So, you know, just wipe this whole thing down real quick. Alright, so that's a quick wipe down there on my sleeping mat. So I'm just gonna, you know, lay this out and let it dry. Alright, so it's the next day. Everything is now dry, 100%. And what I like to do before I start repacking everything is I like to, you know, go through my gear and make sure that nothing's broken and there's no holes in anything, and that it's all still in good condition. I've already gone through some of my stuff just because I don't want to take like a ton of time, you know, going through everything, and, you know, because that just gets boring. Because it's tedious work, but has to be done. So I just have a few items here, you know. I'm just gonna, you know, kind of quickly go through my my stuff here. So this is my multi-cam rain jacket. Just kind of, you know, make sure there's no holes in it, stuff like that. I'm gonna do the same with the pants. Quickly glancing over the whole thing, making sure there's no holes. That looks good. I've kind of already skimmed through some of this stuff, you know, when I was like cleaning it and all that, let it dry, so should be good for the most part. It doesn't hurt to double check, you know. This is looking good. No holes in that. That's an important one, especially if you have a sleeping mat like this, because a hole in it means that it's not going to inflate. The ruck is good. The only thing about my ruck, that I noticed is that the shoulder strap here is starting to tear. So that's not going to affect it that much, but it is a good thing to note. And just keep an eye on to make sure that it doesn't get any worse. But other than that, everything looks pretty good and, you know, ready to go again. So using some editing magic, I'm going to repack everything. So yeah, and just like that, it's packed and ready to go for next time. So now I'm gonna take this bad boy and I'm gonna store it away until next time I need to use it. Yeah, and then we'll jump into the next segment of this video. All right, so the next and kind of last piece that I want to discuss in this video, and for what I do for decompressing after the field, is I like to go back through my notes that I took while I was out there. So, oftentimes you're gonna have a notebook and a pen and all that, and you're gonna be taking a bunch of notes out there, and not all the notes you take are going to be important, or they might have just been like a quick jot down to like remember while you were out there. So not everything is gonna, be something that you necessarily need to remember, or that's gonna be important, but there's going to be information that you want to remember, or that you want to go back over, or that you may have forgotten. So what I like to do is, I like to sit down and I like to, go back through my notes, and I circle things, underline things, whatever, you need to do to mark things to be like, hey, this is important. And I think, going through your notes is helpful because you can look at maybe like what you needed to improve on when you were out there, or what you did well. And it's a good way to make sure that you can continuously improve and continuously stay ready and be prepared, because you can you can just go back through all those notes and you can be like, hey, this is an important piece of information that I want to remember, or this is like an idea or a strategy or something, and you'd be like, I'm going to use this technique, or I'm going to do this next time. Or maybe it's like, oh, I did this well, and I'm going to keep doing that. So that's kind of like why I like to go back through my notes, and it's kind of my last, piece of decompressing and resetting after the field, just because, I can look back and I can make that mental note, and then I can keep those notes that I took to continuously go back to. So yeah, that's kind of my step 3, or my last step to decompressing. Now that I have completed all of these steps, that's pretty much, my full routine for decompressing and resetting after the field. Maybe you want to throw in a thing or two that I didn't touch, or you want to do something differently. That's perfectly fine. It's more about what works for you than what somebody else is telling you to do, right? Because everybody's different, so what works for me might not work for you. But the main point of this video was to talk about, why it's important to decompress after the field, and kind of some ways that you can go about it. Now that I've, gone through my gear, I've gone back through my notes, I've made sure that I'm good to go and all that, then I pretty much, I get some rest. I go to the gym, I do whatever I want to do from here at this point, and I just, make sure I'm ready to go for the next one. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of where I'm going to leave this off for the video today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you gained some new knowledge, as always. And, maybe if you have some other ways that you like to decompress, or some ways that you like to do something, feel free to share it in the comments. And, people can take a look and get some more helpful information. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please follow the Instagram if you haven't. I want to continue growing that. And I post a ton of extra content not a ton, but I post extra content there. And I post, updates, stuff like that. Just trying to continue growing, Mission Ready Society as a YouTube channel, but also as a brand. I've been working on a lot of things on the side and doing all that. And I'm hoping to, maybe in the near future sometime to start, having some products, or, having a website ready to go and stuff like that. I don't want to rush into things too fast, because I want everything to be quality, and it takes time, and I got a busy life right now, so I'm just kind of taking it one step at a time, But yeah, thank you for watching. Follow the Instagram. I'd really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed today's video, if you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing, and leave a like. That would be greatly appreciated. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.